Another fight I want you to talk about is Bowe-Golata in Madison Square Garden, where there was a brawl. Uh, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen happen in boxing. And from what I understand, your daughter was in the crowd as well. So if one, you tell me,
Remember her?
yes,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah. So at this moment, at the moment of that night,
Mhm.
she's 16.
She's 16 years old at this fight.
She was 16 at yes at that fight at Bowe-Golata, and she was living in London, but she had come to New York to join me, and we were going from New York to Atlanta for the Atlanta Olympics the following day, the day after Bowe-Golata, and I told her about the fight, and she said, "Can I get a ticket?" I said, "Okay." So I had gotten for her a second row ticket right at ringside, directly behind me, as close as she can be to the ring. And on the afternoon of the fight, she called me and said, one of my old buddies from school here in New York wants to go tonight. Can I get two tickets? And in getting two tickets for her and for her friend Mike Kopech, that entailed a switch from the second row behind me at ringside to the second deck upstairs in the middle of the arena, far,
Mhm.
far from the ring. Now, Rock Newman was a chip on the shoulder kind of a guy, and he was trying to teach Riddick to have a chip on his shoulder. Riddick was not a chip on the shoulder kind of a guy. Riddick was a happy-go-lucky, good old boy. But Rock was working really hard to try to get Riddick to have a chip on the shoulder. He thought that might be marketable. And of course, Golata was kind of a street thug from Poland. He had done some physical work on the docks in Poland, and he was not unaccustomed to fights both in and out of the ring. And so I'm calling the fight at ringside. I had no idea where Brooke was sitting. I hadn't thought about it since the ticket position had changed. And the fight ends, and all of a sudden, there's this guy from Rock Newman and Golata's group who runs across the ring and starts hitting Golata on the head with in one of those cell phones that was as big as a shoe.
It was like a walkie-talkie.
Right. And he's hitting him on the head with that thing. And there's blood. And all of a sudden, people are pouring into the ring. George, I was announcing, I'm trying to call the action in terms of the brawl. I'm now describing a brawl. It's a news event. Fortunately, I had been a news anchor in Los Angeles. I just switched immediately from my sports broadcasting hat to my news anchoring hat, and I'm describing what's going on, etc. George puts his arm out behind me like an iron bar, and now has created a barrier behind me at ringside that prevents all of these people who are jumping and running into the ring from disturbing me. He's like a bodyguard for me. And you can hear him at one point in the background on the audio saying, "You don't want to go in there. That's not something you want to do." And he talked two young thugs out of going into the ring. But I'm focused on what's going on there. And eventually, I realized that we had done our opening on camera from a camera platform up 4 or 5 sections back beyond ringside, and you had to climb up the stairs to get up all the way to the camera platform. And I realized that there would still be a microphone there because we had done the opening on camera up there. Mm-hmm. So I turned and left ringside and ran back and got up those stairs and got up onto the camera platform and spent the last 10 minutes or so of what was going on calling and describing the brawl from up there. And the executive producer, a guy named Ross Greenberg, is in my ear. Take this as long as you need to. I'm in a truck. I can't tell what's going on. You're the one who can see the arena. You have to make a judgment when we're going to get out of all this, but you got to be sure that you cover everything meaningful and just make your own judgment as to when you're finished. And at some point, I made a motion to the cameraman, like, we can close now. And the cameraman told the truck that's what I was thinking. And Ross Greenberg in my ear said, all right, if you think we're ready, then go ahead and sum up everything that happened, both in the fight and in terms of the riot. And then if you have some personal comment to make about it before we get off the air, go ahead and make the personal comment. And when he said personal comment, that's the first time I thought about my daughter. That was the first moment that I had remembered that she was there. And that no matter how safe I might have thought things were, I didn't know for sure whether she was okay. So my final comment was, and somewhere in here, I've got a 16-year-old daughter. I've got to go find her. And I took us off the air and we, closed the show. Following day, Brooke and I got on a plane and flew down to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, our NBC hotel was on a metro, on a train line, about 4 stops up from where the broadcast center was. So every day, Brooke and I would get on the train to go down to the broadcast center and then come back in the afternoon. And every time we rode the train, every time, somebody would come up and say, is this her? Is this your daughter? Is this the one who was in Madison? Are you okay? Da, 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 etc. She became a little bit of a celebrity there because of all that. And, that didn't happen because of Riddick. That happened because of Rock Newman and the kind of people he liked to have around Riddick and the people that he had recruited into their camp. Riddick was not the kind of person who ever would have condoned or wanted that kind of thing. He was gentle. He was sweet.
Okay.